my grandfather's sukkah, there was only one picture, Matloub, and that's it.
My grandfather, Hacham Matloub, alav v'shalom, was always studying. In real time, if I went inside to the kitchen to get a ka'ak from my grandmother, and I came back, the Gemara would still be there. But this time, it'd be laying on his chest as he fell asleep, because it was always with him.
As a 15, 16-year-old in the community, and we started to notice Hacham Yom Tov Yadid. We started to see the great rabbi and watch him and observe him. And it got me and my friends, a little high school boys, thinking, where do we come from? What's our link? How do we connect to something much bigger? And we wondered, what's Mishelanu? What's ours? Where do we come from? Who is the Hacham that we could look at and hopefully have a certain person that we're striving to become? And we very much, after talking to some of the old timers and observing and watching, we came to Hacham Matloub Abadi. And the link that brought us back and established Torah in America is Hacham Matloub Abadi.
There was no question he had a greatness. There was no question he had a greatness. And he was a true Talmid Hacham. They were the ones that kept Torah alive in our community.
When I hear stories about how Hacham Matloub was able to teach and study with adults on the highest levels with such depth, clarity, and concentration, and then at the very same time go into the classroom and teach young school children the basics and fundamentals of Torah, of Yahadut, of philosophy, and do both with such mastery and proficiency and clarity, he's the gold standard for what I would want to do in my own personal career.
In Magen David and the old school on Avenue P, on the 4th floor, there was a big picture, the picture like this, Hacham Matloub.
He was a marbit Torah. He was somebody who spread Torah to everybody.
He wore many hats, and he needed to do so. And b'makom she'en anashim hishtadel liot ish, when there's nobody else around, and you're the one who God puts in that spot and gave you all of the resources and the tools and the gifts to be able to do it. So you're capable of superhuman things, which is what I think he was able to do.
How does one become a legend? Is it brilliance alone, or is it the humility forged in life's earliest chapters? The story of Hacham Matloub Abadi teaches us that true greatness is shaped long before the spotlight ever appears. Born as the grandson of the brilliant Kabbalist Chacham Mordechai Abadi, who authored many Sefarim and Pizmonim, including the classic Makelot Am, which he wrote for his son's wedding, and now 150 years later, it's a standard at every one of our happy occasions.
Makelot am barechu el harimu kol koach va'el.
Raised in Aleppo, a city steeped in Torah scholarship, and later refined in Jerusalem, the eternal center of Jewish learning, Hacham Matloub absorbed not only knowledge, but responsibility. These humble yet powerful beginnings molded a leader whose Torah was lived, not merely taught. When he later came to America, he carried with him the depth of Aleppo, the holiness of Jerusalem, and a vision to uplift an entire generation.
He was born around 1890 in Aleppo, Syria. He was a very good student. Many times they would open the synagogue, and there he was in a book. He fell asleep during the night, and they didn't realize it. By the time he was 17, he was a teacher, he was teaching, and even some of the men that were here remember that he taught them. And he was much younger than them, but he was like a tutor.
Every Shabbat, Hacham Moshe Tawil would walk into the synagogue, and he would test them on the parasha. He would ask them questions. And eventually I found the recordings of Hacham Moshe Tawil, and I found out that Hacham Matloub Abadi was his teacher.
He was a Havruta Rabbi Ezra in Syria. So, I mean, man was he was a gadol.
They studied in a place in Halab that is not just about kibbeh lahmajin, it's about real places of Torah and study.
He left Syria because he wanted to study in Israel, in the Porat Yosef.
Mr. Nahum, he was looking for someone for his daughter, and he found Hacham Matloub. They got married. In 1923, the trustees of the newly formed Porat Yosef offered my grandfather the position of Rosh Yeshiva. However, he humbly refused.
He said, you know, I want to try America. I heard a lot. There's a lot of opportunities.
So he came to America. And when he came to America, he was peddling, he was trying to make a living. He was working in the Talmud Torah at the same time. Hacham Matloub loved America.
So he became a citizen as soon as he can, and so did my mother.
He loved the freedom of religion. He loved the opportunity, which he didn't have before.
You were able to do whatever you wanted to do as a Jew and not be discriminated against.
Before one can lead a community, one must first lead a home. True leadership is first tested, not in the public, but around the family table, in patience, in presence, and in example. Hacham Matloub Abadi embodied this truth. Beyond his stature as a Torah scholar and communal leader, he was first and foremost a devoted father and grandfather, guiding his family with quiet strength, warmth, and unwavering values. His greatest lessons are not only delivered from a podium or a classroom, but lived each day through kindness and consistency.
We used to meet every Friday afternoon and talk about what's going on, tell jokes, and we'd laugh and have a good time.
The most fun I ever had with him was on Purim, because every Purim we used to play cards. We used to play casino. And that was the one day a year where I remember we had fun.
When the topic got to real gossipy and everything, he took off his hearing aid. He would say with it, with his hand, not interested. If you go back to something interesting, let me know. I'll put it back on. He was able to differentiate between the important and what's not important.
He bought me a Siddur when I went into first grade. I still have it, of course. He advised my father to send me to Flatbush Yeshiva, as opposed to Magen David, because he said at that time, Flatbush was a better school.
He had a son, Seymour Abadi, who at the time, when he was a young boy in the community, could have been on the Dodgers. No question. He was the best athlete in our community, and the Dodgers gave him a tryout. They were interested in him, but he was Shomer Shabbat. And he told them, I will not work on Friday night or Saturday or Jewish holidays, and they didn't take him.
When World War II broke out, my father went to enlist. So my father volunteered for the Air Force, and they sent him to Officers Candidate School and to become a pilot. He became a pilot and then a bombardier in the Air Force. My father flew 50 missions in World War II. When he came back, they had a little parade on Bay Parkway, and he was the second highest community member in terms of rank. My grandfather supported him. He was proud of him.
When I first took the job in my Bet Knesset and I got a chance to meet Chuck and his family, and I saw how important it was to him to preserve this family legacy, not only of his grandfather, Hacham Matloub, but of his father, Mr. Abadi, and his involvement in the U.S. military and so on. You see that this is the lifeblood that preserves our community, is people who care about where their parents and grandparents came from and the legacies that they have, and making sure that when you have somebody like Hacham Matloub, that the future generations know the type of person that they come from.
In a time when the structured yeshivot we know today did not yet exist, Hacham Matloub Abadi stood at the very beginning. He was among the first to teach Torah to the children of the community, laying foundations where none had yet been built. As the principal of the small Talmud Torah, he nurtured young souls with dedication and vision, creating an institution that would become the front runner of the full-time yeshivot we are blessed with today. Through his teaching, he preserved the sacred link to the old country, transmitting not only knowledge, but Mesorah, ensuring that the Torah of Halab and Jerusalem would continue to live and breathe in a new land.
Hacham Matloub was the Torah teacher. When we say the, uniquely, he was the one who taught the men on Shabbatot, and he taught all the youngsters. He taught in the elementary school, the Talmud Torah, in the weekdays.
Focused on Talmud Torah, he focused on just teaching as much Torah as he possibly could.
In his time, people wanted to say, we're going to have the public school, we'll have the kitab, they'll come for an hour, they'll learn a little bit in the synagogue, and then they'll go to public school and be with the rest of the world. Hacham Matloub, with his vision, said, we cannot survive with that. We need Torah learning that's going to be amongst our peers, and we need half a day of Torah learning.
And he would teach when the kids came out of school, which happened to be across the street from the synagogue that they were building. They came at 3 and they left at 7. And my father's for the upper grade. And the other half a day he's going to business. He was a good teacher, he was interesting.
My husband used to pray with a long voice upstairs. And every couple he used to make them a speech. They used to love his speech.
The older students would always come and tell me how much they admired him. He wanted to start doing business full-time. Try to keep him, and he said no. Many times they called him just to check on how the kids were learning.
Hacham Matloub was not only an educator and builder, but a true Posek, whose wisdom was sought by families and individuals from across the community and the entire Jewish world. With clarity, logic, and deep understanding, he addressed Halakhic questions with the proper judgment rooted firmly in Torah values and our Mesorah. His rulings reflected his deep scholarship, balancing precision with sensitivity to real life. Today, his voice continues to guide us through his Sefer, Magen Ba'adi, a lasting testament written in his own words. Through this work, we are able to see what he left behind, a masterful Torah work rooted in the depths of the Rishonim and Acharonim, an unwavering commitment to Torah that continues to illuminate our path until this very day.
He had a very well-known Shabbat afternoon shiur, which Hacham Yosef Raful continued after the Hacham passed away.
Abe Hadaya, Abe Shama. There was a couple of old times he used to learn Rambam together, and he would learn Rambam with them.
It was given for many years. My grandfather attended it. My Uncle Leo Esses attended those classes. My Uncle Joe. They were, the people who were the main leaders of the community. They saw in Rabbi Matloub, a traditional, old-style Halabi rabbi, and you could trust him. He's a responsible. He's not just saying things off the cuff. He wasn't seeking popularity, that's for sure. The last thing he wanted to be was popular with the people. He's tough, and he said it like it is, and he didn't show favoritism, and you couldn't bribe him.
The Hacham Matloub used to shun the spotlight. Everybody used to push him to go up and sit on the pulpit. He refused. He used to sit in the back row over there amongst the people. He used to say, my father and others tried to get him, Hacham, go sit up there with Rabbi Kassin and Rabbi Hecht. He said, no, Betoch Ami Ani Yoshev. There's a saying in the Bible somewhere, I'm not sure where, I sit amongst my people. That's where I want to be. I shun the kabod, I don't want to sit up there.
Magen Ba'adi is nothing short of a masterpiece. It's the way I have a relationship with Hacham Matloub, Zechet Tzadik Livracha.
My grandfather would sit in the chair with Moshe Faham. He was writing the book Magen Ba'adi. He kept on writing, and his tiny little handwriting
was plumbing the depths of the Talmud, understanding the intricacies and the ayun that goes all the way back to Halab. You look at where he's quoting. He's quoting from the Rishon HaSfaradim, quoting from the Rashba and Rabbeinu Yonah and the Rif and Harambam. And at the same time, he has a Teshuvah quoting the Rogachover. And he's looking at all different angles to Torah. He was a person with an open mind for all aspects of Torah.
Maxie was very, very fond of the rabbi, and he gets credit for really going the extra step to print Magen Ba'adi. Originally it was done with Moshe Faham, Alav Hashem, and the greats, all his students.
Mastery that he had over the most esoteric area of study of Torah and the way that he was connected to text, I don't think there's anything else like it anymore.
Hacham Matloub was known for his Pesach. If there was any thorny halacha, some type of a halacha, it was known. You go to Hacham Matloub for Pesach, because he's really a Talmid Hacham. He had a tremendous name as a Talmid Hacham, as a Posek. A very big name. When Hacham Baruch came in later, and his reputation started to grow, as he got older, people started to turn to him.
The rabbi had tremendous accessibility. They say he used to keep a notepad in his front pocket with a pen, and anybody who would come up to the rabbi with a halakha question, he would never answer you on the spot. He would write down your question, and he would go back and he would do hours and hours of research to come back with the right answer, with exactly the sources and exactly how it had to be done.
Advised the idea of selling lifetime seats. We never sold lifetime seats in the community ever. Had a general meeting, and finally I went to Hacham Matloub. I told him the trouble we're having, with the seating. He said, no, we never did it. It's we no haram, no maybe you can't do it. I went to him. He says, you can do it on condition to find anybody who lost his money in business in the past 10 years and quietly give him a seat for nothing.
Hacham Matloub was not afraid to touch on any topic. There was no question in halakha in which he said, this is going to be too much out of my realm, or I'm nervous about what the implications were going to be.
He was the go-to. Sam Cat and Hacham told me that, anytime you'd have a question that you wanted an authoritative answer with sources, you'd go to Hacham Matloub, and he would always say, bring me the Sefer. He wouldn't answer off the cuff. Bring me Harambam, bring me Shulchan Aruch, and he would open up and he would show them.
When I look at the way that he approaches real-world questions with a tremendous level of sensitivity, he's not just taking a theoretical question. He knows that there's a human being behind that question who needs an answer, who needs to know what to do, who needs a rabbi who's going to present him with something that he could do with Yirat Shamayim.
They would press him for a leniency. And they would say, come on, Rabbi, maybe you could find a loophole. And he would go like this. He would put his hands together and he would say, my hands are bound to the rulings of Harambam and Shulchan Aruch.
You wanted the halakha clear, and you wanted the ruling, you wanted the Hacham Matloub.
He was loyal to the tradition and he didn't bend. And if he could find the leniency, but they were all sourced. Nothing came from himself.
He was somebody who wasn't afraid to say what he thought and what was the truth, what was the emet, because it all comes from Toratenu HaKedosha.
When Rabbi Matloub gave my uncles the heter to shave after 7, Abraham Asses said that he wants the kids to shave after 7 days because they're business people, and he doesn't want them to keep their beards for 30 days. Of course, they went to Rabbi Matloub, that was their rabbi. And he writes a landmark teshuvah in Magen Ba'adi, and he goes on to a whole analysis of it, and at the end he says that the reason why you don't shave is the kavod of the niftar, of the deceased, and if the deceased says he doesn't want it, so that's not his kavod, and therefore there's no problem to shave after 7.
His writings on adoption were done in a way with meticulous detail and research, and supposedly that the Supreme Court in Israel uses that as their source still today.
We are a community thriving with Talmud Torah, with learning, with studying, with chinuch, with education, because of Hacham Matloub's leadership and his vision for what we need to survive in the galut in America.
The rabbi himself studied Torah under some difficult conditions. It wasn't always easy, it wasn't always affluent, it wasn't always glamorous. It was really taking a lot of energy out when you're sick, when you're healthy, when you have money, when you don't. Talmud Torah is keneged kulam, and you study it every day, no matter what. And especially when times get hard, that's the time that you have to make even more of an effort to empty the tank and make sure that Torah is the only thing that matters. And if that's what everything is built upon, then it's going to be able to last.
One day I'm in the yeshiva, and one of the boys, he was a Moroccan boy, comes over to me and tells me, one of your rabbis was here last night, 11 o'clock. It was Friday night. And what happened? The Hacham Matloub Abadi came to the yeshiva at 11 o'clock Friday night. There was very, very few boys learning. And he walked in and he said he needs a me'iri on Yevamot. He needs a me'iri on Yevamot. He has a she'elah. And someone found him a me'iri and they gave it to him, and he sat down, he opened it up to a certain page, and he just studied it. He was looking at one page. He says he was there almost 2 hours. He was just studying this page of Erie and kept on closing his eyes and thinking and thinking.
The things that were important, he tried very hard, like Shabbat. He tried very hard for them not to work on Saturday to go. Don't go into the retail business, go into the wholesale business.
We bridge the gap between the old and the questions that come up and that will continue to come up.
ماشي نقول أشري مش عملوا بالتوراة بعثينا حتروح ليوترو بدينا حتروح الشهادي بدي يكون روح بريوت وحاهي منه تتجي وراه كمان.
We looked at the guest list for the testimonial dinner that they had in his honor in 1965, where they gave him this gold watch, by the way, which still works perfectly. He only agreed to that because it was to the benefit of the yeshiva.
Nothing lasts forever, but a legacy does. A legacy is what we leave behind for generations to come. Hacham Matloub was a bridge between worlds, carrying the Torah of the old country into the heart of the new country, with strength and perseverance. Through his leadership, teaching, and unwavering dedication, he ensured that Torah education would not only survive, but build, expand, and strive. The families and students shaped by his efforts are living proof to that vision, benefits we continue to enjoy until this very day, long after he is no longer with us.
It was a cold Sunday morning, January 1970. Bensonhurst is quiet. About 1,000 men and women shuffled towards 67th Street. They converged on the Magen David Knies to pay their last respects to their Chacham, community leader, and luminary. Chacham Matloub passed away just before sunset.
Our great rabbi and leader, Rabbi Matloub Abadi, returned to its holy source. I turned around to my son who was standing next to me, and I made Kiri'at B'Chadim and said the blessing of Dayana Imhit with Shem and Malchut.
ومعزتان وحلوتان ونعلموت ونعلوت رب جدول المحنيخ والبيداغوج المربيش توراه بربيم ربي مطلوب عبادي بين السيتي
Chacham Matloub Abadi, Zechrono Livracha, I considered a close and an affectionate friend. And at this moment that our community has become orphaned, and we have lost, as David HaMelech said about Avnei ben Ner, Sar v'gadol nafal hayom Yisrael, a prince and a great man.
When my grandfather died, they took like 10 boys from my class, and each one holding a candle over the mitzvah, over my grandfather. And I was shocked, completely shocked, is because I never looked at my grandfather as anything but my grandfather. He was my grandfather.
Today there's a wall in Shaarei Tzion with the Hall of Fame wall of rabbis. And Chacham Matloub, Olam B'Shalom, is on the wall. Put a podium right here in the Larchwood Shul, and also 2 podiums in the Learning Center and the main shul in his memory.
It's an honor to welcome you to this special 50th year memorial of our great Chacham Matloub Abadi, Zecher Tzadik Libracha. Human and compassionate and understanding man, brilliant enough and confident enough to work halakha into real life.
And he devoted his life for that. Talmud Torah in Halab, Talmud Torah here in in Brooklyn, worked very hard to have Magen David Yeshiva.
The rabbis we had in the past, these rabbis, without a question, held the community with their Torah, crucial time. Because if they didn't have that Torah, we could have went very quickly into oblivion. They kept us in it. They kept us in with their Torah, with their Pesakim, with their laws, with their Posek, and gave our community respect for Halakha. If someone came up with a Teshuvah, like Matloub came out with a Teshuvah, that he says Asur, it's Asur, Mutar, Mutar. And that kept our community following Pesak Halakha, which is something unbelievable.
Minhag Halab was to learn. Everybody has their interpretation what Minhag Halab is. To eat bizit on Ocean Parkway, and this one says to play Torah, and this one says, to sing Pizmonim. It's true, they did those things. But Minhag Halab it was a city of scholars. They had Iyun. Iyun means it was depth. They didn't learn superficially. They had a real hold on every single sugya, and they carried themselves in a very humble way, in a modest way. They didn't seek any honor or acclaim or kavod. So that's the legacy. Minhag Halab is to learn Torah.
All of the other aspects of the community, the tradition, the food, the names, the lingo, these are all cultural things that are nice, that can bring people together, but nothing will advance or preserve a community the way a true commitment and dedication to Torah is going to do.
I read and I shake at the mission he had in front of him. This wasn't happening. People were in public school. People were barely going to synagogue in the morning, getting a little bit of a class. And he writes, L'pidyon shivuyim ketanim, for the redemption of these shivuyim, these souls who were taken hostage here in America, these young children. Shiviti Hashem lenigdi, Hashem put them in front of me. Ulahadbit Torah b'mosdam, to spread Torah, the Torah learning in the institutions of our community. Nadarti v'kiyamti yeudi. I swore to do, and we accomplished our goal. I was so inspired by the dmut, by the image of the great rabbi, that when we were naming my second son Chucky, giving him his Hebrew name at his milah, I wanted to name him Shaul after my father-in-law, but Shaul Matloub after Hacham Matloub Abadi at the same time. I wanted my son to live up to a legacy of learning, of Torah learning. That's everything Hacham Matloub stood for.
It's a wonderful feeling that he's getting the recognition.
We do what we can do in order to remember the greats of the previous generations, to realize we don't have to look elsewhere. We have everything here in our glorious community, and we have the ability to strive for greatness within of who we are, our great Hachamim.